Good evening, everybody. I'm Kathy Sherman. I'm president of Basketball Club International, and I want to welcome you to the premiere show of this season's BCI Courtside live events. I'm really sorry for the delay. We've had some technical difficulties, and so as we are working on those difficulties, we wanted to start the program, and I wanted to introduce to you two of our players this evening. The first one, Adrian Branch, and also Mike Wilks. And I would like to have each of them introduce themselves, tell a little bit about their playing days and what they're doing now. So go ahead, Adrian, if you would start that off, that would be great.
Well, Kathy, I want permission to let Mike start. So let's go age before beauty. So, Mike, you're the rookie out here. Go on, rookie, sing your fight song. Tell us who you are.
All right. Mike Wilks, originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Went to Rice University in Houston, Texas. Played there 4 years. Went undrafted, started in the D-League, and eventually was called up to the NBA. Played 7 seasons. Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs in 2005 when we won the championship. Orlando, played for various teams. Had a couple stints overseas. So I played about 10 years total. Currently in my 4th season as a scout in the front office for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, my name's Adrian Branch, and this is my second go at BCI. I love this. I love Kathy and what this does, the round table. I'm currently a TV analyst for ESPN TV into my 9th year with ESPN. I played 4 years of professional basketball with the world champion LA Lakers in '87. And then played 7 years outside of America. So I'm a kid in the candy store, man, when we're talking about faith, family, and fun tonight.
That's great. Hey, thanks. Both of you, as I understand it, then have a championship ring. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Mike, I'm fascinated with your story. Tell us about that '05 team and being a scholar athlete too at Rice, man. I'm so excited to hear about your story.
I was fortunate coming out of inner city of Milwaukee to get a basketball scholarship. Come from the inner city of Milwaukee. Family really couldn't afford to pay for me to go to college, so I was really hoping to be able to use basketball as a tool to get a scholarship. And I was fortunate to be recruited by Rice University. Wanted to get to some warm weather in Houston. And I was able to play there for 4 years under a great coach in Willis Wilson. Enjoyed my time there. Graduated in 2001 with a degree in economics. And I said, hey, I'm not really ready to get a real job yet. So I said I'll give myself 2 years to make the NBA. And if I don't make it, then I'll put my degree to work and go get a job that way. And I was fortunate. I started in the D-League, and I played a full season in the D-League. And from there, my 2nd season, I was called up by the Atlanta Hawks. And then from there, God was just faithful and awesome to me and allowed me to defy the odds, year after year and go in and make teams. And I was able to piece together a nice NBA career as well as some overseas experience. And I was fortunate to play for the San Antonio Spurs in 2005, as you mentioned. I mean, played with some of the greatest players of all time. They're still there: Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. And it was just an awesome experience for me, playing with a bunch of humble guys, a bunch of fierce competitors, high character guys. And I really enjoyed my time there.
And if I can ask Kathy, Mike, what makes Coach Popovich work, man? He has been, since Tim Duncan's been there, they have had the highest winning percentage of all of the North American sports in football, baseball, and basketball. What makes him who he is, so successful?
Man, he has a phenomenal coaching mind. He has a way about people. And he'll also be, one of the first to admit that, he was extremely lucky, getting guys like David Robinson and Tim Duncan. And one of the things that I noticed when I first got there was his willingness to coach the stars, and that could be difficult at times to really go at guys and to have guys with such high character, Tim Duncan, Tony Manu, your best players that's willing to accept coaching. And he had that unique combination, great coaching mind. He was great at X's and O's, great with people. But he also had stars that understood what it takes to win and win big. And they were willing to allow him to coach them hard. And that set the tone for everybody else. I'll never forget when I first got there and Pop, he lit into those guys and really challenged them. And like I've never seen, a coach go at stars before, and they took it and nodded their head and they went out there and responded. And, I was like, wow, if he can say that to them, he can say anything to me. He can talk about my mom and I'll probably accept it. So
That's interesting. It's like Pat Riley was like that with the Lakers. I played with the LA Lakers in the height of Showtime back in '87. We won that championship. They show it every year when Magic goes across the middle and shoots that little baby sky hook. And I was a rookie. And just what you're saying to that point, Pat Riley would coach the veterans. He would challenge them. He would challenge Kareem at the time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was 40 years old, Hall of Famer. James Worthy, Hall of Famer. Magic Johnson, Hall of Famer. But he would challenge those guys the same way he would a rookie like myself.
Right.
He would appeal to their pride because, guys making so much money, what's a $1,000 fine is not going to do anything. But he would appeal to their pride. So I hear that. And Mike, I will say we can't leave Kathy out because the founder of BCI was a coach, Coach Sharm. And does it sound like your husband being able to lead men like that, Kathy?
Yes. Sharm played basketball at the University of Iowa and then was head coach at the young age of 24 and had successful years at the University of Iowa and probably the most well-known player that he coached at the University of Iowa was Don Nelson.
Oh, yeah, Nelly, Hall of Famer.
Exactly. And so, I'm sure I didn't see him coaching at that point, but I am sure that he, knew how to talk and how to coach the players and challenge them. Anyhow. So what do you think about this season coming up, guys?
Well, Mike, from a scout's perspective, what are you seeing? What's the buzz of the NBA, if we can ask you?
For us, OKC being in the West, there's no nights off, and it's going to be an exciting season. It's so many good teams that has a chance to win and win big. You've seen some of the off-season moves that have been made. From San Antonio getting LaMarcus Aldridge and just some of the other teams that are coming back, reloaded, regroup. Teams like Memphis that, felt that they could have, went even further had they not suffered some injuries. Of course, Cleveland in the finals and the injuries that they suffered. So it's going to be a very exciting season. We're excited. We suffered a lot of injuries. So, I think it's going to be a great, very competitive season. I think the fans have a lot to look forward to.
I think Ty Lawson makes Houston even more dangerous because Harden had to be that primary ball handler during that championship series. I think he makes them even more lethal if everyone can stay healthy.
Yeah, like I said, it's no nights off. So many teams have gotten better that were already elite teams, and so it's gonna be a dogfight every night, in the East and in the West. So it's gonna be a great season.
I wanted to just remind the viewers that if you have questions, just type your questions in to the query, and we will be sure and answer them.
Kathy, if I can ask, Mike, you being a scout, when you came out of school, you were undrafted. What was what were the scouts saying? What were you saying about yourself back in '01? What was the positives? What was the knock that you had to work on?
Um, that was a long time ago. But for me, coming out of a small Division I school, I really, I really didn't know what scouts were saying. I didn't really have a lot of people talking about me. I think the night of the draft, I was playing in the Pro-Am League, out in California because I knew the chances of me, getting drafted at the time was probably slim to none. So, I really wasn't, concerned about what other people were saying. I was more or less, at the time, putting my faith in God. And, I was just like, hey, with God, all things are possible. And I really just made a commitment and a focus to basketball and to my relationship with the Lord. And, I said, one of my favorite scriptures is Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And that's something that I just kind of held on to throughout college. And once I got saved, became a believer in college, I just kind of made that my focus. If I just try to put God first in everything that I do, what he has for me will be added unto me, and he'll direct my path. And so when I got out of school, I went out to California, undrafted, had a gentleman that I worked out with that was partners with my agent as a trainer, and he was a believer as well. So me and him hit it off, me and his family, and he was a great encouragement to me. And so, I just put my focus in doing tour-a-days, and then God began to open doors for me. I remember going to a pre-draft workout for the Sacramento Kings, and then my agent, they got me into it. And I remember walking in the gym, and I could hear people saying, like, who was the little guy? Like, nobody knew who I was. And I think, like, Tony Parker and Gilbert Arenas and some of those guys were actually at that workout. So it was some big-name guys there. And, I went in there, and I was able to hold my own. And then from there, I got an invite to Summer League, and then Summer League led to camp. And, I had a shot at making the team. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. They made a trade right before training camp, and they had 4 guards under guaranteed contracts, so that I ended up getting released. And I remember Rick Adelman calling me back in the room and was like, hey, it was my first taste of the business. He was like, hey, you did everything that you could have done. It had nothing to do with your ability. And so from there, I went to the D League and tried out and just kept grinding from there. So I wasn't necessarily,
How'd that work? Because it's a non-guaranteed contract with the D League, wasn't it?
Well, when they first started, everybody made the same. So I did, we all had the same contracts. We weren't making a lot, and, so, you go to the D League to develop and, hopefully get a shot at your dream of making it to the NBA. And, I was fortunate the inaugural season to get, sportsmanship, award. And, that was a tremendous honor, something that, as a believer, I hope that, I can reflect Christ in my walk, and that's just what I try to do.
I played in the minor leagues as well, 11 years of professional basketball, some of the same battlegrounds, especially I was drafted in '85 with the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan's coming off a Rookie of the Year, so I tried for that team. And I'm going to be honest, Mike, when I got that call from Chicago, I was like, no, I don't want to go to Chicago. They love it up there. I was hoping to go to Dallas. I was hoping to go to Houston, down that way, backup Rolando Blackman or Louis Lloyd, those guys. But, man, so I went and got cut, went to the CBA and came back and made it the next season with the Lakers. Now, God was always in it for me as well, but at the time I didn't acknowledge him. Well, I have religion. I grew up Catholic, so I have religion, but I didn't have that relationship until 1993. So you're talking about 85. I grew up in the Catholic Church, always went to church, loved church, but it got personal in 93. But at the time in 86, man, I was heartbroken, went to the minor league, almost became an alcoholic. I was like, nobody loves me. I'm just, can't put a plug in the jug. And came back, and God is so providential, and I'm so happy to be among that number today.
Yes.
That's great, guys. I want to just ask just a bit about how both of you, being on the team, dealing with a lot of the temptations that go along with being in the spotlight and being, with the team. How do you deal with that as a man of faith?
Yeah. How'd you do it, Mike?
For me, it wasn't as hard for me, I would say, because, I grew up an only child. So, one of the things, like my mom, I give my mom a tremendous amount of credit. She's a phenomenal woman. And, she just raised me to, not be afraid to stand alone, not be afraid, and then just being an only child, I did spend, quite a bit of time by myself. So, it's something that I'm comfortable with. I'm not afraid to stand out or not go with the crowd if I believe it's right. So, and then I know my scouting report, just as a player, your strengths and weaknesses. And, so, I try to, not put myself in certain positions that could make me vulnerable to falling, into some of the traps, into some of the temptation. So, going on the road, I would do things with my teammates that I felt wasn't a compromise to my faith. We go out to dinner, we would go, to the movies, things that, where I could take Christ with me and not feel convicted. So I did those things, and then try to stay in the word. And then I have accountability partners. I had friends, other strong believers that, held me accountable, encouraged me, and that started in college for me. I had a teammate, Omar Mance, and he's a college coach now. And he transferred to Rice right around the time where I gave my life to the Lord. And we were riding the car one day, and he was riding the car with me, and I had some gospel music on, and he recognized the artist, and he was like, "You listen to that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was just, and we got to talking, and we just held each other accountable. Like, hey, when I was tempted, he'd be like, "Hey, if you don't go, I won't go." And we just kind of, iron sharpens iron. So I had some phenomenal people in my life, brothers that hold me accountable. And I just tried to, limit putting myself in vulnerable positions. And, I can honestly say, I'm not Kevin Durant, I'm not LeBron, I'm not one of those, high major stars where it's, so much going on around me where it's even harder. So
all the shorties chasing you, is that what you're saying?
yeah, so, on the road, I did normal things, go to my room, and, once I got married, I'm on the phone with my wife, or usually doing something, that's cool with my teammates.
How about as a scout now? Because you still travel the same way, the hotels the same way, participating in the NBA lifestyle. How about that one now? Off the court.
Man, I work, and, I work hard, and my travel, it's not a whole lot of time to get into much, and when I do have time, I'm trying to get some rest. So my schedule typically, I'm flying into the day of a game. I might get there at 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon. I'm trying to get something to eat and go to my hotel and change. And then I usually go over to the arena 2.5 to 3 hours before the game even start to watch guys warm up and stuff like that. So I'm at the arena, 4:30, at the latest for a 7 o'clock game. By the time the game is over, it's 10 o'clock, and I'm trying to grab something to eat and get back to my hotel, work on my report, and get some rest because I got a flight to catch in the morning to the next city. So I really don't have a whole lot of time to do much.
My story is similar with that now. Working with ESPN, I use it. I have accountability. I have some brothers that actually give them my schedule. for the games or the cities that I'm in, and they'll pray over that, the hotel and the travel, the protection, because, you know, you take it so seriously. I was just in Kathy's town. I missed you, Kathy. I was in your town last week, Fairfield, Iowa. Mike, I also speak as an inspirational speaker all over the country to kids, and was just in Fairfield, had an amazing time. But the accountability is huge. And also, I look at it from the time I leave my house till the time I get back. I look at it as revival as unto the Lord. So in other words, I'm away from my wife and my 3 children, and I look at it like David, the shepherd boy that was out in those fields, and he wrote the most amazing Psalms. And I look at that as revival time. So I believe idle time is the workshop of the devil. I believe that he does try to come steal, kill, and destroy. And you have to have some safeguards, taking this thing seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. I wanted to now, one of the features that we are going to have this year for the Spreecast Courtside Live events is that we're bringing on live some viewers from the audience. And this evening we want to bring on 10-year-old Jacob, who is a big Thunder fan, and he has
Hey, Jacob, little handsome guy. All right. Yeah.
Jersey out. So, Jacob, welcome. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Good. Doing great. Do you have a question or two for Mike and Adrian?
Yeah, I do actually. The first one is, who was your favorite basketball player whenever you were growing up?
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, for me, my favorite player, they were kind of had 2. So of course Michael Jordan, you know, the greatest of all time. But for me, being a point guard, Tim Hardaway was one of my favorite. I love this crossover dribble. I tried to emulate that as a kid growing up, and that was one of my favorite moves. And you know, I'm a big Tim. I was a big Tim Hardaway fan growing up, and now that he's coaching and I'm a scout, you know, I get to see him, and he put the biggest smile on my face, and when he sees me, he talks to me, he say, "Hey man, I really liked your game." So, you know, that really, you know, put a smile on my face. So Tim Hardaway and Michael Jordan.
Mine was Magic Johnson. I got a chance to play with him with the Lakers, but mine was Magic Johnson. But you know what? It's so amazing that Mike, you make me feel like your older big brother, because I'm the same exact age with Michael Jordan. So thanks. We're your age when you were growing up, huh?
Yeah.
That's great. Do you have another question, Jacob?
Yeah. What do you guys prefer, man-to-man or zone defense, and why?
Basketball mind. I'll take that one. You know what? As a scorer, now Mike, I would have loved you. You've been my great teammate because you were a point guard, so I love my point guards. I get a chance to shoot it. As a basketball player, I was okay with a zone because you could pick up and try to get to those easy slots and shoot that outside 3-point shot. But as a scorer, it didn't make a difference to me. I really didn't mind. I didn't care. I love that question.
I'm a fan of man-to-man defense, you know, as being competitive, you know, it's mano y mano. It's a team game, but, you know, I get a kick out of watching matchups and seeing if a guy can really stop his man. And then, you know, during my time in the league, you know, that was one of my main roles, was being a defender, being able to, you know, line up against, you know, guys and try to slow them down. So, you know, I'm a big fan of man-to-man.
All right. Do you have another one, Jake?
Yeah. What has been your favorite basketball memory?
Wow. Good one.
I would say my favorite basketball memory is probably my first NBA game. You know, getting called up. I was in the minor leagues, and And then shortly after, I got called up, and it's a great story. Terry Stotts, who's now the coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, when I got called up, he became the interim head coach. So my very first NBA game was his first NBA game as a head coach for the Atlanta Hawks. And we were together that summer in Milwaukee, because he left Milwaukee to go to Atlanta. He watched me all summer playing summer league, and he was like, "Hey, and by the way, you're gonna start tonight." So my very first NBA game. Normally, you get caught up, you don't even get to play that much. He's like, "Man, I believe in you. You're gonna start tonight." And we asked him, and I remember walking out on the court, and it was against the San Antonio Spurs. And the funniest thing, you know, Tim Duncan, he has a stoic look. He was lined up, getting ready to jump ball, and he didn't know who I was, and he was just staring at me. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm already a little nervous trying to keep it together because it's my first game, but he's just staring at me, and I'm kind of like looking around, like, and he just focused in on me. And then finally somebody hit him, like, "Man, leave him alone." And then the ball went up, and the game was on, and I remember making my first NBA shot ever. It was a corner three, and we ended up winning the game at the buzzer. I think Jason Terry hit a buzzer beater, and so.
Did you have more assistant turnovers as a rookie?
I believe so. I believe so. You know, I was solid, so so that's one of my.
Yeah, mine was that 87 championship game with the Lakers, and Mike knows about this one, Jacob. When you win, they give you the ticker tape parade. You get a big fat championship ring. You're on television, commercials. It was an amazing experience. So without a doubt, it was winning that championship. It all came together. It was magic. Hey, Kathy, can I ask Jacob one question?
Absolutely.
All right, young Jacob, so you're 10 years old. How old are you?
10.
All right, what grade is that, about 4th or 5th grade?
5th.
All right. What are two things, and Mike is a scout, so he'll remember this. What are two things that cover a multitude of mistakes as a basketball player? If you can do two things, coaches will always love you on the court. What are two things? Take one guess. What's two things you want to do to cover a multitude of mistakes as a basketball player? If you do what? One, if you can do this. So what's that? One, if you can do what? Think of J.J. Redick.
Passing.
No passes. If you can what? If you can shoot. If you can shoot, and if you can also play hard by defending and rebounding, coaches will always love you. So I want you to remember that. Two things that cover a multitude of mistakes as a basketball player. If you're able to make shots, because you still got to be able to make shots to score, and if you can play hard by defending and rebounding, coaches will always keep you in mind. I think that's a good point, isn't it, Mike?
That's a great point.
Great. Hey, Jacob, thank you so much for being a part of BCI Courtside Live this evening. Really happy to have you with us. And we're going to say goodbye now to you. And for the rest of the viewing audience, if you don't mind, and Mike and Adrian, if you don't mind, Luke Ridnour is with us, and I think we are going to be bringing him on right now.
All right.
So talk to you later, Jacob.
Bye, Jacob.
Bye, Jacob.
Good. So hopefully Luke will be with us shortly, and we can talk.
Yes. What's up, Luke?
What's up, guys?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Adrian, do you have any questions for Luke?
Oh yeah, man. Wow. We can't find him, Mike. I don't think we can find him because he's a 12-year vet. So the bus just gotta wait for him.
I'm retired right now.
Oh, listen to Luke. Amazing story. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. We know that you were Pac-12 player. What was it back then? Pac-10 Player of the Year, first round draft pick in that 2003 class. They couldn't have done it without you with LeBron and Carmelo. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like you said, I went to the University of Oregon. Played there for 3 years, left after my junior year, and just felt like it was time to try the next level, and did that. Got drafted in the first round. Got 4 little boys now.
I love it. There you go. This is a family show. This is family. This is a family show. Hey, Coach, we're going to get to him too.
Got the 12 amazing years. I feel blessed about that. Excited about the next chapter in my life to see what God has for us.
Man, we want to welcome as well Coach Monty Williams, a DC guy, home guy from Potomac High School, Oxon Hill. I know you're over 40, so you can't give us no gang signs from Oxon Hill. Tell the listening audience a little bit about yourself with your success with Notre Dame and first-round draft pick coming out with New York.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess my greatest success is just being married to my wife for 20 years and having 5 kids that are much more mature at their age than I was in the things of God. And that to me is, and not that basketball and the things that I've done in basketball aren't important, because I've been blessed to do some really cool things, but my wife and my kids and the various relationships that I've made throughout this journey in basketball have been really cool. And all you guys know, once you're done playing ball, that's what you miss. You miss those relationships, whether it's on the bus or the plane or the locker room, all that stuff we do that's organic and cool. Those are really an important part of our journey.
Yeah, well, guys, this BCI is in its 3rd year, and for the listeners out there, this is just a roundtable chat, and it covers 3 areas, which is family, which is faith, and which is what we all love and brought us together, which is fun and basketball. Love to ask that one and take you back. Monty and Luke, we'll start with you guys. Take us back to when you guys found out the NBA was a realistic possibility. Coach Williams, when was it? Was it in high school? Was it your last year when you were dominating at Notre Dame, when you said, you know what, I possibly could play in the NBA? When did it click that you possibly could be an NBA player? I'd love to hear what you guys say on that.
It was different for me back when we played. I think I was more worried about if I could play in college. I think today they start thinking about it a bit earlier. And so I didn't think much about it until people started to tell me that I had a shot to be a high draft pick in the NBA. I think my high school coach, Taft Hickman, told me after my freshman year, he said, hey, they're thinking that you're going to be a high pick in the draft. And I always thought I had potential, but you never know until somebody tells you. And so I think that's where it started for me.
In the high school. Luke, when did it come on with you where you say, man, I could possibly make a living with this?
For me, it was late, too. I grew up in a real small town, and first you just dream of playing on the high school team. That's kind of, you look up to those guys, and then once I accomplished that and, colleges started to come look around, I was just wondering if I could play at that next level of college. And then for me, it was after my sophomore year in college where I kind of started to have success and started to feel that, I might have a shot at this. And that's where, for me, it really kicked in. So it was really, it was kind of like each step. I wanted to get to high school and be able to play there, and then I did that, got to college, able to do that, and then really into my sophomore year is when I started to kind of realize that maybe I could actually do this for a living.
Yeah, I'll say this, and then, Mike, I'd love to hear you reiterate your point is, well, Monty's familiar with the D.C. area, and I came out of DeMatha High School and was considered a can't-miss athlete the same year with Michael Jordan and all those guys. And but I was a head case, man. I didn't take anything seriously. In fact, a scout from Houston came to our practice, and I, on a fast break all by myself, breakaway dunk. You should just go up and dunk it. My senior year, I tried to throw it under my arms, do a 360 and dunk it, but I got hung on the rim, under the rim, and kind of laid out and hurt my back in front of this scout. The dumbest play you could ever do in front of, you're supposed to be serious, you're supposed to tear the rim off, you're supposed to be a team leader. I blew those opportunities because I didn't take it seriously. I'm humbled by guys that do it right the first time. So I had to take the road of hard knocks in the CBA. Mike, what is your story coming undrafted? When did you figure, man, I can play in the NBA?
I still can't believe I played in the NBA, So, for me, it was, just like, hey, man, just give it a shot and see what happened. And it wasn't until I, actually made it and got there and got the opportunity to play and kind of held my own. I was like, okay, I guess I can play at this level. So, I wasn't one of those guys that grew up like, thinking about the NBA or knowing that I was going to get there 5'10", 5'11". So, it was just once I got there and got an opportunity and had some success, I was like, okay, I belong here.
Love to ask you guys this question. Outside of it's a two-part question. What's one thing the NBA really got right? What have they gotten it right? Of course, the money is fantastic. So outside of the money and the contracts that you can make, what is something that you're proud of with the NBA? What's a gray area? What do we, with the NBA and having participated in it, need to work on? What's a gray area? Coach, let me start with you.
I think one thing that they've gotten right is, and I've seen it get much better over the years, and I've been blessed to be in the NBA now over 20 years. The NBA does a really good job of helping guys who finish playing basketball to further their career, whether it be in coaching or broadcasting or management or working for the league. They don't let go of you once you're done playing. And I've seen that firsthand. When I was done playing, I got a call from a number of, or contacted by NBA people, and they wanted me to pursue different areas. And I had no idea that they were paying attention to me. And so I think they do a really good job of making sure that you have options when you're done playing. And that's a blessing. The gray area that may just be different, I don't think it's bad, it's just different, is I think we have to do a better job of mentoring the younger players in a more tangible way. And I think the NBA is aware, because the league is younger, that these younger players and their families are being thrown into a lifestyle that's totally different. And to a degree, they've skipped steps. Not many of them have gone to college for more than a year. And so they don't go through that process of trial and error that you go through in college. They don't get chewed out by a coach and have to go back the next year. That's something that helps you grow up when you're in college. And so I think the league, we who are still in the NBA, have a responsibility to mentor and be honest and truthful about what they need to do to continue their careers and what real life is about.
Luke, what's your take on that? I'd love to hear you and Mike on this.
I feel kind of the same way Coach Williams says, just that since I played 12 years, they make you feel like you're part of a family, a special family. And now that I'm done playing, they take care of you. They don't forget about you. They don't forget about what you did. And really anything you need, the NBA people are there for you to help you, to get prepared for the next step, whether you're done playing or whether you don't even know if you want to keep playing. They get you prepared, and they make you think about what's next. And I think they've done a really good job of that, just making you feel like you're part of a family, whether you played 1 year or 20 years. I think they do a good job.
Mike, what's your take? You're scout. You're still part of this. What's your take on it?
I think to echo some of the things Monty said about the mentorship program. I think, the league is trying to do a good job with player programs to prepare guys for life after basketball, to bring in certain people to help them with financial decisions, internship opportunities. But I would love to see, and I've mentioned this before, I would love to see more interaction between, former retired players that's been through it and done it, mentoring some of the younger guys, and just kind of, schooling them and, just more hands-on with them. I think, that would be another step. And I think the NBA as a whole has done a good job with, the community outreach from NBA Cares and the things that they're doing that is done in the community. Because this basketball is a platform, and we can use it, to really impact lives. And so I think that's something that the NBA has done well.
Yeah, my take would be, guys, is a little similar to it, but I'd love to see, say, $500,000 as an incentive. And for guys, they're going almost one semester and then heading out of school. So I would love to see an incentive. If you come back, finish your degree, you get a $500,000 bonus. Or even if guys don't like school, but they can get a chef's degree or arts degree because they like painting or something along those lines. I would love to see an added incentive of $500,000, whatever that number would be, $250,000 as an added incentive to it, because I agree with you, Coach, that the league is getting younger, and it is the branding. You want to protect the branding, and it's not so much the 2 hours on the court, but more young people succeed or fail with the 22 hours off the court than the 2 hours on that court.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you guys, we talk about faith, family, and fun. The NBA, the coaching profession. Coach, man, college coaches, you just mentioned your wife, and Luke mentioned his children, and Mike, before you guys got on, I've been with my wife for 30 years, and 3 kids. But Coach, the divorce rate is almost 50%. How have you been able to make it work? How have you been able to keep your testimony?
A lot of prayer. I've been able to be around other Christian couples who've modeled how a man is to treat his wife. I've been blessed that my wife has kept God at the forefront of her life and not me. And I was probably lacking in that area when we got married, and that's something that I've learned over the years. But I've really been blessed to be around a lot of mature Christian couples, and I've been able to watch them and watch them keep God at the forefront of their lives. And my wife and I just made a huge commitment early on in our marriage that divorce wasn't an option. Marriage. How
long have you guys been married, Coach?
We just celebrated 20 years this past July, and I got to get her checked out because she's still hanging around me after 20 years. But like I said, we made that commitment a long time ago, man, and I'm so thankful that God pushed us in that direction.
I love it. Mike, tell us your story. How have you been successful scouting?
Oh, man. Well, me and my wife, we've been married for 10 years, and we have 2 sons, a daughter that passed away. And my wife, she comes from a strong background of faith. Her father is a pastor. So I'm very fortunate, a woman of God, and put God first in her life. And like Monty said, a lot of prayer, relying on God's grace to keep us, and trying to surround ourselves with people that, we can model after. And we got great examples in her parents. Her parents been married for over 35 years. And so we get a lot of counsel from them, and we watch them a lot, and able to model and get instruction from them. So that's helped us tremendously.
Well, Luke, we see your crew. So how have you made it work as a professional athlete?
I think, like both these guys said, prayer is the number one thing, and just having that relationship. For us, it's always been keeping him first in our relationship, and seems like when we do that and we stay on track with that, our marriage is better. And get away from that, it kind of gets harder. So I think just staying with him, prayer has been the number one thing. I think anyone who's played in the NBA and has a supporting wife is huge too. It's a tough deal for women to be at home and taking care of the kids, and we're out traveling the world and playing in front of thousands of people. So just having a woman that supports us and loves us and wants to see us do well has been huge too.
Yeah,
really, it's
that's
admit early on too that we're not going to use the word divorce. You know, it's not going to be in our vocab. And so,
love it, love it.
So easily nowadays that marriage isn't easy, so it takes
Yeah.
time, it takes work, and there's no
Yeah.
easy way out. You got a lot to deal with kids and work and all this and that. So for us, we just took it out, and I think we're learning every day still.
Yeah, I've been with my wife for 30 years, since she was 17 years old, and 3 children, 26, 22, 21. And 16. Blessed to have her home. So you guys said it, man. It's like, wow, the first ministry is actually in the home, ministering to your family. And there's been many times I've said, boy, me and my big mouth. You know, I'm speaking all over the country as a motivational speaker, and I got to practice what I preach at home. So let me ask you guys, let me go back for a second. Tell me that the AAU thing, who's culpable with, I'm not being trashy about it, but tell me about the AAU thing. Are they culpable with really polluting the fundamentals of basketball? I'd love to hear what you guys' perspective on with the off season, the AAU. Mike, I'll start with you with that.
I really don't have a tremendous background with AAU myself. I didn't play that much growing up, but just hearing about it, some of the things that I do see, it's some positives that come out of it. Kids get some good exposure that can lead to scholarships and so forth. But some of the things that I don't like that I have seen is, kids just jumping from team to team and, not teaching kids to be able to stick it out and play for the right reasons. And then I have friends that's college coaches, and they're trying to recruit kids, and they say, hey man, I have to recruit the AAU coaches. I have to recruit everybody else harder than I do the actual kid. So I think, that's been a big shift, from the time from when I was coming up. So,
Luke, what's your take on that?
I'm the same way as Mike. I grew up in a small town and played with the same kids from first grade to the time we graduated. So something about just staying with one team and growing up with the same kids and, getting to build those relationships. But it seems like now it's just about being a good athlete more than, learning the game of basketball and being able to play the game the right way and learn the fundamentals you need, I think is important. And I'm sure you still get that with some AAU coaches, but just the way you've seen the game develop, I think we need better coaches at a younger age, I guess I'd say.
Wow. Coach, I know you're coaching them. You've got an Anthony Davis who is just a load, but tell me about what you think about the early years and coaching these young guys.
Well, I think that one of the things I've seen, and I don't have a lot of experience with the new AAU system. I grew up like these guys, like Luke. I had the same guys that I played with for about 4 or 5 years, and that was my crew, and didn't jump around and do all that stuff. What I've seen is the high school basketball coach has been diminished because of the AAU, and I don't know who did that, but I think that high school basketball coaches, at least when I was coming up, they were like your dads away from home, and you couldn't go through a shoe company to get to a player. You had to go through your high school coach, and those coaches really cared about you. They knew your family, and I think it's changed a lot. I think the shoe companies, at least to my knowledge, have a huge hand in where these guys go to school and what they wear, and that could persuade a young man who's in a tough situation to do something that he might not do if he had someone like a old school high school coach to help him through it, like I did when I was coming up.
I love to ask you guys when you're talking about that and then feeding into the next level. Europe was the big catchword. You had the big guys that could the big Europeans that could come into the league, shoot the 3-pointers. Coach, you were coaching international basketball. I'm asking this now from a leadership perspective. You as a young coach, and then you had a young team with New Orleans. What'd you say to these guys as a young coach? I'd love to hear your leadership perspective. Love to hear Luke as a 10, 11, 12-year veteran, how you tried to encourage as a leader, and Mike as well. So this question would lend to leadership. Coach, you as a young coach, coaching a young team, how did you lead?
I think as a young coach, you have to, one, model it every day because you don't have a wealth of experience. And so for me, I tried to be as consistent as I could be every single day. I was always honest with our guys, even when I had to have uncomfortable conversations. But I think the players who've played for me always knew that I was wanting to push them, but I tried to be fair. And I think that was a sign of leadership. But I guess the biggest leadership quality I hope that the players who played for me have seen is hopefully my ability to serve them on and off the floor.
What do you mean by that, Coach? Serve them. What do you mean by that?
Well, coaching can be a number of things. It can be do this, do that, or it can be I can help you do this, do that, and I'll do whatever it takes, whether it's drawing up a play or helping you with your game or bringing a young man to my house at night to have dinner with my wife and I to talk to him about his personal life and try to help him in that area. And so I think because the league is so much younger than it used to be when I came into the NBA, there's a void there. And I think we as coaches in the NBA have to at times be not just mentors, but be their guardians away from their family. And I don't think there's anything wrong with pulling a guy to the side and telling them, hey, you need to get your stuff together, because if not, you're going to end up in this situation. And I've had a lot of guys over the years come back and say they appreciated that later on. At the time, they didn't really care for it, but later on, they appreciated it.
Coaching. Luke, how'd you lead as a veteran, as a senior statesman on your stops?
I think you just kind of learn from your mistakes. You know, I made a lot of mistakes early on in my career with teammates and how to be with them and how to show how you're living a Christian life, and just tried to take those things I've learned over the years and incorporate them in. And as you get older in the league, you become a leader just being a veteran. You know, it kind of just happens over time, and get to mentor guys. I really enjoyed doing that as I got older, just leading by example, coming in, working every day, and not just saying things to them, but living it out. I think that's a big deal, and the Christian walk is easy to talk about it, and it's a lot harder to do it. So I think the more you do it, the more they see you doing it. There's just a respect that happens throughout a season, and guys start to come to you when things are going on. I think that part of it is huge.
Yeah.
I know for me, even with Coach Williams, I was going through some stuff with my twins when they were born, and him just stopping me in the hallway and praying for my family, my situation, shows what kind of leader he has been and been to other people. So, you know, doing it by example is huge.
Mike, you were able to hang on in 7 different teams or so? I got a fun fact on Luke too. Luke, you were traded a whole bunch of times. You and Chris Gatlin. Wow. But how did you maintain a routine, Mike, through all of that and try to, be an example and lead?
Man, just like Luke said, learning from mistakes. For me, trying to maintain consistency, in the Word of God, just showing me a reflection of myself and things I need to grow, and every day striving to become more like Christ inch by inch, and just trying to just be the person that, God would have me to be, and be comfortable doing that. I've never been concerned with like trying to be somebody else and trying to define myself by the word of God, get my identity in Christ and just try to live the type of life that he would have me to live and just try to be that example and be steady and be consistent. I was never, a starting point guard in the NBA, so I didn't have a leadership role in that aspect, but I try to come in, work every day, work hard, consistent work ethic. And then off the court, the relationships that I was able to build. And, as Monty talked about, it's one of the things you love and you miss. And, God allowed me to be able to really encourage some guys, they see different things, from, my journey, going from all these different teams, being on non-guaranteed contracts every year, and the stress that come with not knowing when your next paycheck come. And God would put me in positions where, guys that were going through it for the first time that had never been through it, they were able, come to me and talk to me and ask me, and how do you deal with this? How do you get through this? And it's just encouraging guys in their marriages, like, man, you've been playing in the league and you're faithful. Like, how do you do that? Like, man, it's possible. And just, encouraging guys, and, things like that.
Yeah, that's a perfect.
Can I interject a little bit?
Yes.
I got a chance to coach Mike when I first started coaching in San Antonio, and I've always seen and watched Luke from afar, and I can tell you without question, these guys were so much more mature than I was when I first came into the NBA, and that was what attracted me to Mike when I coached him in San Antonio, and just watching Luke, and I think that at times can be lost in the sauce a little bit. These guys, Adrian, I watched you growing up. You were, coming from PG County, you were somebody that I looked up to. It's amazing. I had a chance to look up to you, and I had a chance to be around these guys who are younger than me. And I can tell you, these guys are solid young men who came into the league and had a different maturity about them. Now, they may say, hey, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm just telling you, I watched those guys, and they are to be proud of. And, if I had a young son who was going to be in the league, or if my boys ever had a chance to play in the NBA, I would want them to have a Mike Wilks or Luke Ridnour to look up to and be around, because these guys did it the right way.
Wow, that's high cotton. Guys, we got 2 more minutes left. That's crazy. Now listen, he's still one of the hottest young coaches out here. So Luke and Mike, keep that on. Play that tape back to him. You know what? I believe working with ESPN 9 years, I'll be starting my 9th year, and I try to take from that. My mantra is preparation determines presentation. Preparation determines presentation. I'd love for you guys to leave our listening audience with a verse of scripture that has served you guys well over the years. Coach, we'll start with you. And Luke, what's something that has served you guys well as we get ready to sign off to this listening audience over the years?
Gosh, I would have to. I have so many verses that I could go to, but I guess the one that I have a group of people that I meet with on Sunday nights, and we go over scripture, and we do scripture memory, which is pretty cool. And I guess the one that really sticks out to me is 1 John 5:11 and 12. And it says, and the testimony is this, that God has given us eternal life, and this life is in his Son. He who has the Son has the life. He who does not have the Son of God does not have the life. And the bottom line is, if you don't have Jesus, you just don't have anything. And if I could go back 20, 30 years when I got saved when I was 10 years old, I wish I could have gotten that at an early age, and even as a teenager and even in my early 20s, that Jesus is it, not a contract, not a championship, not a car, not a house, none of those things. Something that I'm still learning at 44, that Jesus is the reason. And so that verse sticks out to me and it's been a verse that we've had to memorize at our Bible study group.
I love it. Luke, anything that sticks out?
And I've kind of just hung on to 2 Corinthians 10:31 there. Whether you eat, drink, whatever you do it for the glory of God. Just trying to keep him number one. You know, playing all the years and through college and everything was just trying to keep my focus on him, and everything else will kind of fall into place. So everything I do it for him, and you know, God he's faithful and he's with us. He's got a good plan for us. That was kind of what I held.
I feel you guys' spirit on that one. Mike, anything that sticks out to you?
I mean, the one I mentioned earlier, you know, Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. For me, I try to keep it simple, you know, whether I'm going through ups and downs. If I've learned in life, anything that I need, God is. He is, I am. So if I need peace, I seek him. If I need joy, I seek him. If I need forgiveness, anything that I need, I find it in God. So, you know, Matthew 6:33. Funny story, when I met my wife and we were getting to know each other, and she gave me a picture, and at the bottom she wrote that scripture at the bottom, and I was like, uh-oh, you might be trying to tell me something. So so yeah, so that's a big one. And Romans 8:28 is another favorite of mine. You know, all
wow, I love it. Yeah. Mine is Ecclesiastes. You got to go to Ecclesiastes 7:29. God made man plain and simple, but we've made ourselves complicated. So in other words, try to keep it simple. Guys, this was way, way too short. On behalf of Kathy Sherman and Chris Peterson and Chris Delgado, we want to appreciate and say thank you guys for joining us. For our listeners out there, this is one of 4 telecasts. The next one will be right before the All-Star break, February 9th. Tune in from 9 to 10 East Coast time. And if you want to watch it online, it's at www.bciedge.org to listen to this again. Mike Wilks, you are a star. Thank you, sir. Luke Ridnour, you are my man. I would have loved these guys, Monty, because they were point guards, and I love to shoot. And, of course, Monty Williams, who is just absolute gem, Washingtonian and very, very successful man of God. And, again, I'm Adrian Branch. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you guys again. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
all right, guys. Good job, man.
Have a great night. God bless you.
Nice job.